We have proclaimed martial law.
Takot kaming lahat.
Tinorture ako.
Hindi daw tumitinag sa pwesto ang mga tao.
Fidel Ramos has long been in the public eye.
People say he was one of the heroes of the 1986 EDSA revolution.
I,
I,
Corazon Cojuangco Aquino,
Corazon Cojuangco Aquino,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear.
As soon as Cory Aquino was sworn in as President of the Philippines, General Fidel Ramos was given what many thought was a long overdue promotion. He was made the first Armed Forces Chief of Staff of the Aquino government. After 40 years of military service and 7 coup attempts, Ramos faded from the public eye.
The LDP founding president, the Honorable...
But not for long. Ramos came back not to the military barracks, but to the party convention of the ruling political party, the Laban ng Demokratikong Pilipino, or the LDP. Ramos decided to enter politics.
People power.
Many say that with the government machinery that comes with Cory Aquino's endorsement, Ramos may well be on his way to victory.
Secretary Eddie Ramos, I am confident, will fearlessly pursue the vision of this democratic society that our people had fought hard to reestablish.
R-A-M-O-S Ramos, matatag at kailan may hindi.
Pagdating dun sa anong gagawin sa mga kaliwa at dun sa kanan, medyo mahihirapan siya ng konti diyan. Sapagkat yung kanan, siguro hindi siya masyadong katanggap-tanggap doon. At yun naman nasa kaliwa, yung sinasabing mga NPA, maaring kinakailangan maging more flexible ang kanyang patakaran.
In an exclusive interview with the probe team, Ramos did not elaborate on an amnesty program, but he ventured to explain the tension in his relationship with rebels.
Why have they been wary of me? It's because I've upheld the interests of the majority of Filipinos.
And Ramos says he intends to lead the country to economic recovery, despite some obstacles, chief among them a recalcitrant Congress.
How do we go about getting everybody together? I think on day one, we should emphasize to everybody, and I intend to get the new national leadership together, and even before that, and impress upon everyone that, look, we're all on the same boat. It's been full of holes, it's very slow moving, and we're not moving forward towards our destination as other nations have done. It will take a little doing, of course, to get them moving, but if the majority of the leadership realize that instead of putting holes in this leaky ship of state of ours, but instead everybody plugs the holes and pulls an oar, I think we can really get moving.
Ang aking mga tungkulin bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas.
Our strategic framework to establish effective government, of putting our house in order, so that our drive for development can begin, we call Philippines 2000.
There was no interest in the Philippines. And when we talked one-on-one to some potential investors, they would say, you are a country of coup d'etats, you're a country of child prostitutes, you're a country where we see on TV regularly Smoky Mountain. We had a rather tragic image abroad, and nobody really wanted to pay attention to us. That's how it was in the past.
Compared to the years just after the EDSA revolt, when coup after coup kept everyone on edge and the economy at a standstill, the last 6 years in the Philippines have been of relative calm, enabling many Filipinos to actually think beyond the prospects of the government's survival.
Parang nakikita ko na merong progress at development yung bansa natin kasi nagiging one of the Asia's tigers na rin tayo.
Dati hirap akong maghanap ng trabaho. Ngayon, sa Citibank ako nagtatrabaho.
Mas nakilala tayo outside and more investors came. So, mas maganda.
When you talk about economic, the economic performance of the country, the most important consideration is the political stability of the nation. And in this regard, I think the Ramos administration did very well.
In a recent interview with the probe team, the president talked about how he would like to be remembered.
I would like to be known really as a reformer. Well, I think that is in place in terms of our policies and our executive actions. A builder, well, I mentioned the energy infrastructure that we have put in place, but other kinds of infrastructure also have been modernized. And as a peacemaker, and so that leads to one of the, I would say, more strategic and long-lasting accomplishments of this administration.
More than 25 million out of the country's 70 million people are considered by the government to be poor. There is great disagreement about how much of the benefits of Ramos's economic reforms have actually trickled down to the masa.
We have been able to bring down poverty from what was measured to be an incidence of 41% in 1991. That went down to 35% in 1994. We hope that the next measurement, which should take place by the end of this year, that's down to about 30. And let's bring it down some more in the next years.
While the economy grew, unfortunately, the equality was not properly addressed by the Ramos administration.
With El Nino bringing down food production nationwide, hunger will drive even more people to Metro Manila. Some would argue that the best indicator for government's economic performance is not growth, exports, or foreign investment, but how well-fed people are.
It's clearly manifested in the effects of the El Nino, because if the proper infrastructure like irrigation facilities, farm-to-market roads, storage facilities, mainly post-harvest facilities were there, we would not be suffering this kind of hunger and starvation in Mindanao. And to think that Mindanao is the major agricultural producer island, major island agricultural producer of the country, because Mindanao's agriculture already constitute around 40% of our agriculture in the country. And if it's suffering from starvation, therefore, logically, you would say that it was neglected.
So madaling salita, dati libre ang pagkain nyo, libre ang tubig nyo, ngayon pareho silang binibili.
Noong 1992, medyo maganda-ganda ang pamumuhay namin. Ngayon tumagal-tagal, medyo laki na ng pinagbabago. Sa presyo ng bigas, mataas na, bilihin, mataas na ngayon. Dati ang galonggong, magkano lang, 20, ngayon 50 na isang kilo. Yung mga kagaya mga tahong na yan, dati 5 piso lang yan. Ngayon, magkano mga kalating kilo, 20 rin. Kaya ngayon, namin ngayon, pamumuhay namin yun, kung hindi ka magtanim-tanim ng gulay, wala ka rin pandagdag pagkakitaan.
Today, I would suggest that there is clearly a mandate from the people, from the masa, that more has to be done. In fact, there is a slight indication that not enough has been done for the masa by the previous administrations. And I go all the way back. The masses must be listened to even more than it has in the past.
Perhaps the greatest challenge of all, for me as well as for the next president and his administration, his or her administration, is the challenge of poverty. The next president, whoever he or she would be, would have to make sure that the continued confidence in the Philippine economy, as well as in the unique, freewheeling Philippine democracy, must continue. The competition after the turnover, as it is now, is not really among us Filipinos fighting for the presidency or the vice presidency or for some political position. The real name of the game is economic competitiveness in Asia and the Pacific, and of course in the rest of the world.
We Filipinos have learned not the way but the will.
Last question, sir. What's the first thing you're going to do after you turn over the presidency?
I'm going to work.
Again?
Yes, of course.